Hey guys, welcome to a typical week in our homeschool life. I thought I would give you a bit of an overview of what a typical week looks like. There's always some variety, some changes, but this will give you a little bit of an idea. Next week on April 19th, our curriculum is being released. It is a one-year curriculum, and you'll notice that we use a lot of that stuff in our year right now, and I'm excited to share it with you, give you a bit of a look into some of the stuff, and just share how we do homeschool. Now, like I've mentioned a few times, my real goal is to reach my kids' heart, but obviously we're going to also educate our children, and I want to have a relaxed homeschool where we learn together, but learn about things that interest us and not just have me reading information to them and them like filling in the blank. I want this to be an experience where we learn together because I want my kids to know how to learn. I don't want to just be telling them answers and then having them write them down because I know I can't teach them everything, but if I can teach them how to learn, then they can find the answers in the future for themselves. And also, the way we do our research units, we look at a variety of different resources, and I want to teach my kids that you don't have to believe everything you read somewhere just because it's written in a book or written on a website or on a video. It doesn't mean it's true. I want to teach them how to pull from a variety of sources and find out what is actually true, and I feel like we're on the road towards that. So our homeschool is kind of set up with a couple different days. So our Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday generally look the same. Those are the days that we kind of focus on research units. Our Wednesday tends to be a busier day, so that is our poetry tea time day. We try to take a bit of an easier morning because the rest of the day is busier. And then Fridays could go one of two ways. We have either the day off because my husband has every other Friday off, so usually if he's off, we're off. We either like go out and do something together as a family, or just play games together as a family, or just veg, whatever. Those Fridays, we just kind of play by ear. The Fridays where he's working, we often do like game schooling and more of like the creative side of things, which I'll get into a little bit more. We'll start out by telling you kind of how our Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday goes with our research units. So what I like to do is I like to have 2 research units on the go, and then we alternate. So on Monday we do one, Tuesday we do the next one, and then Thursday we are back to the first one again. That way it's not so boring. We have done some unit studies in the past or some curriculum in the past where we got burnt out by the topic because it was kind of marketed as a like 1-month curriculum, and then by like the second week we were already burnt out, and this has been working really well for us. So right now we are working on the flight unit that will be in the curriculum that's released next week, and the butterflies and bees unit. So actually, because butterflies and bees is broken up into half butterflies and half bees, we're actually doing flight one day and then butterflies and then flight and then bees and then flight and then butterflies. So we actually kind of have 3 units on the go, even though it's really just 2. But it offers even more variety in our days. So if you've never seen inside our research units before, generally we have about 4 pages of work for the kids each day. And you can use this for a variety of ages. So the whole point is to adapt it to work for your family and for your kids and for their age levels. And so what we often do is we pull out a bunch of books on the topic. I'm teaching my kids how to use the index and look for different specific topics or like broad topics in the index. So I'm getting them learning how to research already. So we'll go through the pages, we'll see kind of what we're working on that day, and then we'll go through our book resources and see what information we can pull from there, and we start writing that kind of stuff down. Sometimes we will Google something here or there if we can't quite find the specific information that we need, and then often we kind of go into YouTube and get an even more in-depth look at some of these topics. I tend to not generally jump straight to YouTube because they're not going to want to go back to the books after they've had a chance to watch some videos. I don't mind the videos, I love it. There are people that have made such creative ways for kids to learn, but I also want them to learn how to find answers from books and even like the internet. Although for the most part with the internet I do the searching and then help them find the information on the page. So then when it comes to the video, we kind of have the kids have their binders with them, and I pause the video as we come across something, or if sometimes some of the questions are like, research this topic and write down anything that interests you. So as we're watching the video, one of them will say they want to pause so they can jot something down. And that is kind of how we work through our research units. So the last few weeks we've been working on our flight unit and the butterflies and the bees, and it gives a really good variety. It gives them a variety of resources. Like I said before, we've done units before where I've just been sitting and reading to them, and that is not only boring for them, but it's also boring for me, and we have been really loving this style of learning. And then when it comes to how much I get my kids to write or how much I get them to research on their own, that's dependent on their age, depending on the day. Sometimes you can just tell if your kids aren't really feeling the writing portion, or, you know, that's what we do as homeschool parents. We just change things up. We're flexible depending on the day. But generally I get my daughter, who is older, to do more of the research on her own, get her to do more of the writing. I get her to put more effort in. And you'll also notice that our research units have like a variety of coloring pages sprinkled throughout, or even on the page there'll be like something that they can color. For kids that are done faster, either kids that just can't write as much or kids that are faster writers that are done, it gives them something to work on as well. And then also in the units we have room for like it's a blank space where maybe some kids will be writing in there, but if they're not old enough for that, maybe they'll just be drawing a picture, or maybe they'll be doing both. It gives you space to use the unit in a way that works for your individual children. Okay, so that gives you an idea of kind of how our Monday, Tuesday, Thursday go. In addition, each day my kids are working on reading the Bible. So my son is doing the Action Bible right now, he's reading through, and my daughter is using the Bible recap and reading through the New Testament is what she's doing. And then in addition, every day I get my kids to work on their line a day journals, and they have almost completed 2 years. At the time we started it, pretty much 2 years ago now, I didn't buy them a journal because there was certain things I didn't like about the journals that were available, so I ended up making my own. I would not recommend it. We just used notebooks, but no notebooks have 365 pages. It made things really complicated. But I have now printed out line a day journals for them for the fall. So their current journals go till September, and I printed out journals which I have available online. You can get the digital copy or the printed copy. These will not be a part of the curriculum because I know some people have already purchased them or do their own thing here. But I have two different options. There's ones that start in January and some that start in September. So if you want to start your journals with the beginning of the school year, you're not wasting a bunch of pages. I got these printed for my kids for the fall. So this one is for my daughter and this one is for my son. And all it is 5 years worth of lines. So there's little spaces at the beginning where I like to write the day of the week and the year, and then there are a few lines for them to write down something that happened that day. How we do it is we go back and we do something that happened the day before, because then you have the whole day to like pick something that stood out to you the most. So I'm really excited about this because these have space for 5 years, and my kids, we start doing the math of like how old they're going to be in 5 years, and it just blows me away. So these ones we will be starting in the fall, but we have been doing this kind of thing for a couple of years. Then Wednesdays we do a poetry tea time, and this was originally started I think by Julie Bogart. We just get out a bunch of poetry books. We pretty much never have tea. Usually it's like hot chocolate or chocolate milk or whatever we can find, and some kind of snack. Sometimes it's popcorn, sometimes we bake something. We're flexible. Poetry tea time is the title, but it's not always tea. And my kids really enjoy it. They don't love poetry as much as I do, but I think that this kind of format makes it not so scary if you get to have a snack. Like, they really look forward to poetry tea time. And then something that we've been doing this last year is, instead of just reading poetry, I also have them writing poetry. And something that will be included with the curriculum that will be released next week is a poetry prompt journal, where my plan is to do this once a week with the kids. When we do poetry tea time, is they go to a page and they write a poem based on what it says. So there's different prompts, like maybe it's just write a limerick, or maybe it's write a poem about cats. There's 50 different prompts about poetry, and then you can expand your poetry tea time to not just reading poetry but also writing it. And even if kids don't love poetry, it can still be a lot of fun. Then something else my daughter does on Wednesdays after poetry tea time or before, and honestly she works on this in her free time too, I have created a writer's journal because she wants to be a writer, is a great writer, and I wanted her to have more space to use her creativity with a few prompts. So I created this writer's journal that has all sorts of different prompts. Like we've got pages with characters that have different outfits, and then you use words to describe those outfits. There's some comic pages, there's pages to write the setting of this picture that you see, describe it, a profile of a villain, so draw an evil character and write about it. I've got pages for like facial expressions, there's space to plot out a story. This has a ton of pages. I actually kind of made it with my daughter specifically in mind, and I asked her as I was going, like, is there more pages that you would like of something, less pages? What kinds of things would be interesting to you? I've got like write an advertisement, finish this story. There's some coloring pages for when you have writer's block, character profiles, new words. Like there's so many different ideas in here, and I tell her to spend at least 15 minutes on Wednesdays writing in here, and she has gone above and beyond and does this in her free time as well. It is my goal for each of my kids to have something kind of they're like majoring in, even at this age. So I've got this for my daughter. I'm still working on what my son's thing is going to be. This is also not going to be included in the curriculum, but will be up in the shop soon. And then one other thing my kids do on Wednesdays is creative writing and drawing. So my daughter is not doing the creative writing journal right now. Usually, sometimes she wants to. Sometimes she does this instead, but sometimes she does both because she really likes writing. So I have a creative writing journal and a creative drawing journal with different prompts, and they just pick a random page they want to do that day, something to draw and something to write about. My daughter, like I said, loves to write, so she just goes off and does her thing. My son, like the physical act of writing is harder, so he will verbalize his story to me and then I will write it down, and then he does his creative drawing on his own. So that gives you a look at our Wednesday. Then we've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday done, and then Friday is often games. We play all sorts of games. If my husband is working, we generally stick to easier games like Uno, Blitz. We got this cool timeline game recently. We stick to games that are just shorter, Spot It, Monopoly, Life, like the more basic games. We play much more complex games when he is around. I keep meaning to do a video of our favorite games. It will come eventually. In addition to Friday being game schooling, it's often like field trip, relaxing. It's kind of just the tail end. If there's something that we didn't finish, we do that day. But for the most part, it's just more of a fun day. So I hope that gives you a good look into our homeschool week. It changes, it's flexible, but that's the ideal week. It also should give you a bit of a look into our units that are coming. There's going to be 12 research units included in the curriculum, plus a few extra things, including the creative writing journal, the creative drawing journal, the poetry journal, and a mother culture journal as well. I hope that gives you a look into that, and that curriculum will be released on April 19th. Thanks so much for being here, guys.